Hello. Did we? I don't even. You know what? Technology is just what it is. Welcome to the Fear to Freedom Project. Welcome back to the show. If this is your first time to the channel, welcome. I am so sorry. Sometimes I don't even know how to work technology, but I tell you what, this is where fear ends and freedom begins. This week on Beyond Belief series, Devette is going to continue to dissect Job through an esoteric lens. And I'm telling you guys, it's getting gooder and gooder. So you should stick around here. If this is your first time, big welcome to you. Please take a moment to subscribe to the channel, like it, and share this amazing channel. And if you are a returning champion, listen, thank you for supporting the Fear to Freedom Project. And you can follow us now. You can listen to us and follow us on Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and you can catch us on Spotify. I'm so excited about sharing my voice with the world. Thank you for being here. I want to invite you today to listen to this conversation from a different point of view.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah. We're just asking you to listen to it from a different point of view. So let's get after it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's get after it.
Hey, how are you? We are live today in the place. I'm glad to be here today. Happy Resurrection Sunday.
Happy Resurrection Sunday to you. I am so happy to be here. And I tell you, when I say so, I just want you to know I'm so happy. I am sitting smack dab in the middle of gratitude. You, my friend, you know my story. You know what 2024, 6 months into 2024, all the way up until just a couple weeks back, my story. And today I am really just grateful to be here. I'm thankful. This is a day that I feel so much gratitude for not only what I have and what God has given me, but understanding a different way, just simply dissecting the word and being able to go deeper inside of that word right now. I'm really happy. Yeah. How do you feel about it? Where are you today?
Glad to hear you say that. I'm grateful too. I woke up this morning, so of course I just don't celebrate, holidays the same way that I celebrated them before. And so I woke up with this awareness of resurrection being the resurrection inside of me.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, do I know what you're saying? I understand it because it is your full cycle of evolution that you have erected. You are resurrected internally inside yourself, and it is through the grace and the however you want to say it. I'm just going to say through God. For me, it is through that grace that I really get to experience this resurrection, this new thought. This it's not even a new thought because these things have been out. I have read books from 1870 saying the same thing that you and I are saying right now. So this isn't new. This is new for me because it's awakening in me. And it's new for a lot of people because it is awakening an awareness of that the resurrection is happening daily as I let go limiting beliefs and I
That's how
start to embrace the freedom of this new understanding, which is love and compassion and grace. And no, it's not weakening the message, it's actually strengthening for me.
No, I'm right there with you. I am. I'm right there with you. I thought about the resurrection. And if this is your first time following us, we started this series called Beyond Belief because we wanted to take a look at the Bible through an esoteric lens and not through the lens of conditioning. And so that's kind of what we're doing. We're just having a conversation about how we can connect to the stories of the Bible. And Devette wanted to dissect Job. So last week we were talking about shadows. Is that correct?
We were talking about shadows. We were talking about Job's journey inward.
Job's journey inward, which is where you find your shadows.
You and I are Job, but we're every character in the Bible. That's esoterically how I see it. And this week, I want to dive into after you've gone through the And it's not after, because all of us who understand going through something in their lives, sometimes the
Yeah.
lesson doesn't come after. Sometimes the lesson
Mhm.
comes right in dead smack in the middle. And this is what Job experienced. Job had everything. Job was this very blessed, august man and prayed very religiously. He prayed all the time. He, uh, he prayed for sins that hadn't even taken place to his knowledge,
Mhm.
especially
Mhm.
when he was talking about his children.
Mhm.
None of that stopped him from facing calamity. None of that stopped him from having to go inward. And that's what that story
Right.
is really talking about. Going
Mhm.
inward.
Mhm. Mhm.
As he
Mhm.
went inward, he discovered some things about himself. But let's go back. So before he went inward, he had some friends. And today I want to talk about those friends being different aspects of you.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
those friends represent different states of mind that you may have when you're going through. Have you ever beat yourself up when you're going through, like, dang, I could have done that better? Lord Jesus, what's
Yes.
going on? It has to be me. And you see yourself just vacillating between several opinions about yourself. Well, Job's
Mhm.
friends did the same
Mhm.
thing. So Job had this friend, Eliphaz. And
Who?
Eliphaz, and then it's spelled like
Okay.
Eli. Well,
Mhm.
this
Mhm.
particular friend, if we're looking at it esoterically, simply means the friend who seeks advice spiritually all the time, but it's through
Mhm.
religious dogma. The friend that says to you, well, you have to pray harder, or there must be something about you that you haven't uncovered, and just
It seems like maybe that the first thing that we do is kind of blame ourselves or we blame someone else, is what you're saying.
yes.
That's the
And
first
Eliphaz,
line of defense.
he represents that. He represents that talk to yourself that you have, that's a part of the dogma of religion, those limiting beliefs that, yeah, I did sin, or I haven't gone to church, those thoughts about what maybe I am, surrounding those religious thoughts that keep you
Mhm. Mhm.
believing in some limiting small belief about yourself.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's what Eliphaz, that is what he does. That is the state of what he's showing us when we're so rough on ourselves. We won't cheer
Yes.
ourselves on for just getting up in the morning and facing the hard shucks that's going on
Yeah.
in our
I
lives.
really agree with you there. I want to stop you just for a
Please.
second because, yeah, because I really agree with getting up and cheering ourselves on.
Hmm.
That's very important, just by virtue of the fact that are here
Hmm.
on earth. Even if people don't really understand that they have chosen to be here, but we have chosen at this time to incarnate on the
We
earth.
have chosen this time.
And because we chose that decision, we should be celebrating ourselves. Really. There's nothing else to be done, in my opinion, that you have chosen here. And so that alone warrants
How
a
many
great
times have you had an Eliphaz in your life? When you've been your own Eliphaz? When you wake up and you really don't feel like giving yourself that attaboy. You can do it.
Mhm, mhm,
You immediately go to that mindset that beats you down. Well, you really should read X, 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 and X and do X, 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 and X, and this is going to get you where you need to be. Well, really, Eliphaz is showing us nothing on the external is going to get you where you need to be. It's all internal. It's just a state of being. It's a state of thinking about the situation, how you are perceiving the situation. So the next friend he had is named Beladad. And it's spelled
mhm, mhm.
Bildad. And he's a traditionalist. And I know you've had friends that are traditionalists.
I was getting ready to say that would be
I know
you.
you'd have, because
Yeah.
I know you'd have friends that's traditionalist. And They only believe it and see it one way, like what's the statement that a traditionalist would say? Well, you need to go to church or you need to, there's always a you need to, do something that's
Mhm, mhm.
externally outside of you instead of taking some time and
You need to go to God. You need to go to church. You need to pray more. You need to, maybe offer a sacrifice or something.
right. And listen, honestly, that whole statement about you need to go to God, that's right. Go inside. Really, go inside to God. Is not the one that's
Yeah.
externally trying to tell you or lead you by traditional religion, which we know why
Mhm,
religion was put in place. The way that we got it, the way that we externally was given it, it was for control. And so when you
yeah.
can't divorce yourself from those traditional
Mhm,
thoughts to deal with your situation. And the situation simply means you, whatever you're going through.
mhm,
Billadad is
mhm,
that state of consciousness. And we all have a Billadad inside of us. We all have something. It
mhm,
may not be religion that you are traditional about,
mhm,
but it's something that limits your belief about how far you can go, you
mhm,
know? So the last friend, well, it's not the last, but the next friend is Zopar. And Zopar
mhm,
is the friend that he offers harsh judgment. Like, that's just it. He's very harsh. I knew it was something you did. And now you're sitting up here lying
mhm,
and you saying that you didn't do it. And yes, you did do it. And you need to, you got to repent for that, for lying that you didn't do it. But it's
mhm,
that harsh thought about yourself. I told you you couldn't do it. I don't know why you
mhm,
think you need to dream this big. Never, you have never reached this pinnacle. What are you talking about? You need to get back to church. You need to do, 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 do. Those keeps us in a place of resistance.
yeah.
Really?
Mhm,
For me, they
mhm,
kept me in a place of resistance. I couldn't see myself because I could see only those things about myself, not
mhm,
seeing myself and understanding that I had power over all of those thoughts. I have power over all of those limiting beliefs. It's what I
mhm,
believe
mhm,
about myself. It is
mm,
where I want to go. And I want to go internal because internally, I know that there's a God answer there. Internally, I know that my divine self is connected to the higher power, and that higher source, which is me, is going to give me
mhm,
exactly what I need. But these friends represent a state of consciousness during suffering that we feel, or during whatever we're going through. What it may not be suffering, but it could be the loss of a job. It could be stagnant thoughts, whatever it is. Those are representative of those thoughts that we have against
mhm.
our own selves. And that's what
Yes.
Job's friends really represented in his story. What limiting beliefs do you have? What limiting beliefs do you have about yourself?
I mean, we have to ask ourselves the questions, though, and self investigation is so important to me. I like that you are always bringing the Bible or bringing ourselves into the Bible and giving the analogy of his friends that are representing all of the thoughts that are inside of you.
Right.
You're that harsh friend whenever you say to yourself, what did I do wrong? Why would somebody do this to me? What did I do to them?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what could I have done better? You start to turn it inward.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you start to turn it inward, or you start to say, okay, maybe I should have prayed a little bit longer. Maybe I should pray more. Maybe I should fast and pray and not eat. Some type of ritual. I
Or
don't
maybe
know
I
that
should get somebody else to pray for me.
we do, or get somebody,
Or
yeah,
or
go
or
go. I got to go to the
maybe
pastor.
I need to
You could
seek
some people go
outside of myself. Yeah.
everything is outside. Nothing, well, when you're in that mindset,
Mhm.
if, of course, everything is outside of yourself whenever you run to. Even now, I am check myself because use the oracles to communicate.
Mhm.
I use a lot of divination tools to communicate to the other side. And when times are rough, life is happening and I am looking through some resistance eyes,
Mhm.
I go to my oracles. I go to the cards, I go to my ancestors, but I remember hearing a spiritual leader say even that is not, it's not okay to depend on. Use your own higher mind, your own thinking, your own right action. Not that I have to run to something and look outside of myself. Yes, I appreciate the communication that I have through my guides and my ancestors and my angels. I do. I appreciate that. But there are times that through that communication and the wisdom that is imparted, I need to use that when something shows up again, not always run back and look for something. No, no, the cards don't lie. The information is the same. The communication is the same. Go within, change my belief about it. Look at it from a different perspective. Don't take things personally all the time.
Right.
Realize that we are just not our body and our mind, that we are spirits here
We are spirit.
having this human experience.
Right.
Yeah, so we have to look at it in a spiritual, through a spiritual lens. I would say more than half of the time that we exist, we should be using our spiritual eyes.
Listen, if I feel like this, if you're looking for someone, let's say your friends, Eliphaz, Beladad, and Zophar, and you can't put your face on your friend and hear truth, then you really need to back away from that friend and go internally. You know what I'm saying? Because if that, okay, so let me say it like this. I often will, if I haven't, a situation that I'm going through and it's dealing with someone else, I often have the conversation in my mind. And what I will do at the end of the conversation is put my face on that person. And if the things that I'm saying to myself as that person is limiting, understand where my vibration is.
Yes.
Then I see what I'm drawing in. And so that becomes a mirror because all of this should become a mirror. Eliphaz should become a mirror. I don't care. It could be, uh, Alicia Faz. I don't care, whatever her name is. Or
Right.
any of those friends or any of those states of consciousness that tells us something that's limiting, we have to investigate it and go, for me, I have to investigate it. And I like to go inward to see exactly where that fear is resonating at and see where I can now clean that energy up and no longer have to deal with an Eliphaz in that situation or a Zophar in that situation where I'm being so harsh on myself. I can't even find compassion in a conversation with myself. Nuh-uh. Wait a minute. Something's a little off here. And when I start to feel that way, I really get into my meditation. I really quiet my world down internally. And the book of Job talks about quieting your world down so that your instructions can be sealed in your heart. And that's a deeper study and dive into that. We don't have that kind of time, but it is instructions about that. I want to go back to his friends for one reason. His friends, when they came to visit him, because by the time his friends came, he was boiled. Job meeting had boils all over him. His external world had started being reflected in his skin. His limiting beliefs, his fear written prayers, his fear about what he was going through was all over him. It was very visible. He had boils. And his friends at the beginning of them, the story introducing them, they came and they said nothing for 7 days. 7 days they were quiet. I don't know whether it was physically that because of what they were seeing, because this is a tale.
They were startled.
Maybe they were startled, but inwardly, what they were wrestling with was probably, what advice do you give someone who I know is doing wrong? I got all of this. I know you're not doing what I know. So they take those 7 days and then they riddle off every accusation against Job that they could. Now, but remember, Job's story is about one person, and that's you. So all these accusations that you're having about yourself in your quiet moments, you have to reassess that. You got to clean that energy up. You have to come to yourself as a cheerleader, cheering yourself on in this situation. And they couldn't do that for Job. But there was one friend who was able to give Job the spiritual outlook that he needed. And by giving him that, and his name, I forget his name, but his name represents spirit. And I will make sure next week with that bring his name up again. But his whole role was to lead him directly to the door internally inside. Isn't that something? And when he opened that door, he began to have a God conversation. He meaning Job, he meaning you, me, you. We all, when we get to that door and we have the courage to walk in it, we begin to have God conversations.
Yes,
And
that.
God
Hmm.
conversations sounds different than these silly conversations that we're having with ourselves. And yes, I feel that they're silly because they're limiting beliefs that we're having about ourselves. And his conversation was, Job, I see you. I haven't left you. There's no way that you could do all this by yourself. You are the beneficiary of everything that I'm giving you. You know, it was just a beautiful story. Job had to reassess how he saw himself. He had to begin to see himself the way God saw himself. And he had to forget the friends that had those limiting thoughts about him and his situation. As a matter of fact, in the story, it talks about God wanting to do something to those friends because they had such limiting beliefs about Job.
Hmm.
And that is nothing about
Hmm.
but you having limiting beliefs about yourself. That's what the story is. Go ahead.
No, well, that's really interesting because your friends and your relationships are a reflection of you.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're saying that those friends, which it's a story, it's a tale. So, supposedly he had those friends that each had this different dynamic that,
Right.
one brought something that was traditional, one brought something that was holding him accountable, one was offering him something outside of himself. So we do have those friends. And once you start to have a God
Ugh.
conversation and you start to really get serious with yourself and you start to really examine yourself, you may find that those friends no longer fit in alignment as you would with the limiting beliefs, but you may find that those friends are not in alignment with you anymore. So maybe you spend less time with them. Maybe they
Or maybe you
become
spend
less.
less time with your thoughts about yourself. You know what I'm saying? Since it's nothing else externally. Even your friends are a representative of some state that you feel about yourself. Like,
Well, that's what I'm
right.
saying. So once you start having the God conversation, you can eliminate and eliminate the not only the thoughts, but also physically your friends.
Sometimes they
I
do
mean, if
leave.
those friends, yeah,
Sometimes
sometimes
they do
it
leave.
has to be, they have to. I think it's important for them to leave if they're not in alignment with you. And that's okay. That's okay. Because like I said, once you start having that God conversation and you start taking a look at yourself and you start to examine yourself, you start to feel
You
different. You
do.
see things
You
differently.
do.
And
You
you
respect
may
yourself differently. You see yourself as being enough for any friendship. And you see yourself as being enough for yourself.
for
That you
yourself,
can
for your
hear.
own self.
You really can hear your own God conversation. And your God conversation right now may be telling you XYZ about the situation. And that's the information that you need to use to clean your energy up. That's what you need to do. Those are the jumping off points that you began to examine. New doors open up. New friends come. Sometimes old friends come back around. It is one thing. It is your belief about yourself while you're going through any situation. In this situation, am I enough? Yes. In this situation, will all things work out? Oh, yeah. They got to work out. They have to work out. I take no other word except it has to work out for my highest good. And I know that. I just went through a situation. And Deb, can I just tell them, I was unhoused for 32 days. I had to believe from a catastrophic flood that happened in the home. You know this whole story. But I had to show up as enough in that situation. And sometimes that was not easy. But I had to trust my voice. I had friends sending me houses. I had friends sending me people. Every time they would send me something, it was a no. That's not it, baby. You're going to know it. And you will have no doubt. You will feel it on the inside. I walked into this new place. I felt it. That is me following my God self. I was enough. Everything that he said to me was going to work out. I didn't believe anything different. But my Job, I have had other Job moments that I listened to Eliphaz. Belladab and Zophar. I believed all of the limiting things about myself. It's just this time I chose not to believe those things. And because I have chosen not to believe those things about myself, I see myself mentally in a clearer place, spiritually in a clear headspace. I know I'm enough. And I'm not beating anybody up. I just know that I'm enough, just the way I am. And I'm glad that I'm showing up in every situation for myself as enough. That's my God conversation. That was my God conversation with myself. You're enough, baby. This situation will not take you down.
And when you get into life happens for you, it's just sometimes we have the impulse to explain it away.
Mm-hmm.
We always want to explain and over explain what it is, and that's spiritual bypassing instead of just being in it, realizing that you have to feel your way through this thing.
You just gotta
It
feel.
does You have to feel your way through it. You got to feel all of the aches and pains of this current situation. But it's no reason to explain it away anymore. I'm done with the over explaining and, having the need to project and blame and all of those, spiritually bypassing what I have to go through, listening to all of the internal voices of those little friends inside. When that comes up for me,
Little
yeah,
friends inside, yeah.
the real little friends inside of your head, those little people. And that's you, the different parts of you. And so I love that now. I love self investigation. I always have, but now it's intentional. It really is intentional. And when those moments come up, I really just dig in and ask
Yeah,
myself,
I really do.
what do you mean? What do you believe to be true to make you feel this way? It's something that you have to believe to make you feel fearful or doubtful, or that, something is not going to work out for you. What do you believe
You
to be
believe.
true?
What do you believe? I love that.
Got to ask yourself that. Yeah. We got to examine these beliefs here.
Yes.
And one of the questions I wanted to ask the audience is, do you give yourself permission to sit in discomfort without immediately needing to explain or fix it? Because when you have to sit with yourself and sit in, be in the stillness of the chaos, do you allow yourself to feel it, or do you actually use spiritual bypass? You start explaining it. That's a question for the audience, even though once again, we are not live on YouTube. Someone just told me, but I'm going to figure this technology out.
It's okay. I will say my knee-jerk reaction to that question is, oh, I want to explain it away. The first friend to show up for me is definitely Billadad. No, it would probably be Eliphaz. That's the first one. I want to explain it away. Now, what in the world did I do? It has taken me a while to get to a space in a place in my life where I don't try to explain it. I first investigate where I am while it's happening. Like, where am I? Reverend Ike said something. I was watching a video of his. He says, the truth of the situation may be, the fact of the situation may be you have no money right now. But the truth of the situation is that you're all money, that money circulates to you constantly. And I had to think about that. Dang. So the fact may be one thing, but the truth is totally different.
Totally something else.
The truth is, what I feel about me in this situation. The fact of the situation, it may be something that I'm going through, and right now at this moment there's nothing that I can do. But I tell you what, the truth of me is that I am. The truth of me is that I am connected to the all that is, and the all that is connected to me. The truth of it is that everything has to work out for my greater good. That's just the truth of it. Now, the facts may look a little differently here in the earth. Right now, I may not, but I guarantee you it works out for me. I know it will. And that's the difference when you're looking at truth and fact. Yeah, it just spiritually, I know something differently. And I've seen it work for me. I've seen it work for me so many times. Like, I've really seen it work. Not only in this situation, but I've seen it work for me when my daughter was diagnosed with cancer. I've seen it work for me. So there are just certain things that once you have a clear intention about, It doesn't matter what the facts say. I've known people, one of my best friends, the fact was he was in prison for 23 years. The truth was he didn't do it. The truth he held on to, he didn't do it. He knew that he would always be exonerated, and he was. But the facts were, they proved their case. You see what I'm saying? That convicted him. But he held on to a truth that was deeper than any physical eye could see. He held on to something deeper. And that, I tell you, my friend, gets you through things in a different way. All hell can be breaking loose. But if you believe a
And
different truth about yourself, the facts could be what they are. But you are going to come out of this thing with a greater level of not only knowledge about yourself, but a greater manifestation. The end game is yours. You might have had to go 12 rounds with Mike Tyson, but you came out the ring.
well, I wanted to just leave the audience with another question to ask themselves. When you have experienced suffering or silence, what voices show up inside of you?
Mm.
Do you have the voices of being critical to yourself? Are you searching for the answers? Are you blaming yourself? Are you looking outside of yourself? This is a question for all of us to ponder. What do we really do whenever we are in the midst of the storm and we're in silence and feel that suffering?
That's a good question. I think that's an awesome
Yeah.
question. Like I said, I think one of the first voices that come up in my head would be the one that wants to explain it spiritually. It can't always be explained that way.
Well, give us a brief on what's going to happen next week.
Well, we
What are
got to
you
go
gonna?
deeper into that God conversation. He comes out on the other end. We all know the story.
I really don't remember the story of Job. I don't remember a lot of the stories in the Bible, so it'll be good to hear it or be reminded of it. So yeah, that's good. So we're gonna be
That
talking
whole
about.
God conversation, and I can't wait to hear what your God conversations sound like in the midst of what you're going through, or
Mm.
how does it reverberate in your mind, in your own experience, your own God conversations? Because I know if it's what 8 billion people on the face of the earth, you got to be having 8 billion different conversations.
I mean, we are really wearing out the source, aren't we? All of these, thank God that God is
And
intelligent.
thank God He's inside
Woo!
of us. And thank God.
Woo! Having all of these conversations from 8 billion people. So thank God for that. Well, I'm thankful for this conversation today on Resurrection Sunday, to everybody who is tuning in.
I am too.
Happy Resurrection Day to you, however you celebrate this day of remembrance. It is a day to remember the resurrection inside of you. And I hope these are conversations that I just did not have before. So I'm excited and happy to have the
Me
conversation
too, Deb.
about, yeah, those internal voices that you hear whenever those are the friends that you have that, maybe are trying to defy logic or give you some more reasoning, or they're seeking to control. This is you. This is your head. These are the things that are happening inside of us. So
Gosh,
don't
yeah.
don't blame yourself. Don't project onto yourself. Don't get into spiritual bypass and just feel your way through whatever it is that you're going through, because it's all working out for your highest good anyway. It really is. Everything's working out for our highest good.
Right.
That's what's that's what's so it's very comforting to know that.
It's very comforting.
And once we put ourselves in the story of Job, then you have that knowing that, like you were talking about. I just know you have that knowing, that clear cognizance. You know without a shadow of a doubt that things are always working out for you. So, well, thank you, my sister. Thank you for joining me on this podcast series. I appreciate you.
Yes, I appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
I appreciate the fact that you can be so transparent and have this different way of looking at it. I love that. So thank you. Thank you for sharing your
Mhm.
Resurrection Sunday with me. Thank you, everyone. Remember that you are the
Yes. Remember that you are Jesus. I like this saying right here. I am the all that is, and the all that is me. So I hope this conversation ignited something in you, in your heart, in your mind. And if it did, join us again. We're here every Sunday at 6:30. We're going to figure out how to go back to live, but we are here. You can listen to us on Apple, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. So until the next time, stay curious, stay compassionate, stay connected to your truth, and we will see you again. Thank you.